Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about the 5 reasons that I did not make my move to France sooner than I did and what you can do to avoid these pitfalls. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, my name is Patricia Brooks and I moved to the south of France in 2018 and I help women who have been aching to make a move abroad but haven't been able to do so on their own. I help them to move through whatever has them stuck, whether it be self-doubt, whether it be blocks to getting rid of stuff or leaving family and friends behind. I help them work through all of that so that they can finally start living their next chapter of their life in the country they've been dreaming about for so long. And today I'm going to talk about 5 things that caused me to slow down my progress in making my move to France. Now, I want to tell you that I think that I moved to France in a pretty short amount of time, but even with that, I found some challenges that slowed my progress. And I probably could have been in France, living in France, probably a year sooner than I actually did. And so I'm going to tell you about that. And I recently went to Paris for Thanksgiving and I shot some footage. And I thought you might like to see that as I share what those 5 things are. All right, so enjoy the view. As we start a new year, I'm recording this on January 1st, 2024. It is ideal to kind of assess where you are in your life and what you want for the next 12 months and beyond. And you may have some things that you wanted to accomplish in 2023 or maybe 2022 or maybe even in 2021, such as making a move abroad. But for some reason, you have not made that leap yet. And if that's the case, I'm going to share with you these things that had me stuck and give you some ways to work through them. All right. So the first one was what's called a limiting belief, a very general belief that many people might have. But since we believe it, it keeps us from doing something or achieving something. It's something similar to blondes have more fun. I'm not blonde, so therefore I'm not going to have any fun, right? Something as simple as that. The limiting belief that kept me from moving abroad sooner was that I only saw younger people making moves abroad, people who had just finished college, or maybe they were in their late 20s or early 30s. I didn't see a whole lot of people, or was not exposed to a whole lot of people who were in their 50s. I was about to turn 50 when I was considering this idea. I didn't see a whole lot of older people or middle-aged people doing this thing. So in my mind, I believe that this is something that only young people do. And I think a part of that was that I thought that, well, younger people have less at stake. I had built up a career. I was settled. I purchased a home. And it felt like leaving all of that behind was a little bit harder, would be a little bit harder than if I were just starting out. And so that idea that only young people move abroad caused me to say, I don't know if this is something that I can do or is right for me. If you have a limiting belief like this, what you can do is you can go online and Google people who have moved abroad later in life. There are a lot of examples, and there's a woman, Janice, in France who moved abroad. She moved to France in her 70s. So if I had had that as an example, if I was looking at YouTube and was searching for that, that might have really blown that limiting belief out of the water, and that would not have held me back as it did. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2 is I thought that I needed to find a job that I could do in France. I needed to find somebody that could hire me in France so that I could have a means of subsistence. And this is all tied to the belief that I had that a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. you don't leave a job unless you have another job at the ready. This was something that was ingrained in me as a child and something that I still grapple with a little bit today, even though I am self-employed. Sometimes I hear that in my mom's voice come up, and it challenges me. So what this did was I was looking for jobs abroad. I wasn't looking seriously because I really didn't want a job abroad, but that's what I thought I needed. And a coworker of mine who I shared my thought about moving to France with, he said, well, maybe you could, see if this company will allow you to work remotely. And I poo-pooed that because I didn't really want to take the job that I had and move to a foreign country and be tied to that. And so I really didn't want to get a job, but I thought, that's the only way. I don't know another way that I'd be able to support myself. And so I looked a little bit, but not seriously, and kind of put the idea on hold. Moving through that, I decided that maybe I could just take some time off from work. But in order to do that, I'd need to have enough to support myself for the year, 2 years, 3 years, however long it was that I was going to move abroad. I really wanted to do something longer term, but that was an idea that kind of caught me. Well, if you go temporarily, maybe you can find a job once you're on the ground, because another thought that I had was, people aren't really going to take you seriously if you're looking for a job in a foreign country and you're all the way across the world. And so I thought, well, I'll get there and then I'll start looking for a job. But again, I really didn't want a job. And I remember distinctly a former coworker, a teammate of mine, asked me when I was here for 3 months how my job search was going. And that was a moment of reckoning where I said to her and to myself, you know what, I haven't really looked for a job and I don't think I want to get one. And that was a deciding moment. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I'd had enough savings to support myself in France at least for another year. So that was kind of like, I like the idea of taking some time out for myself after having worked as many years as I had, doing something I really didn't enjoy doing in the end. So that is the second thing, that I needed to find a job in order to get to France. But then the idea of, just going and getting there could help me find that job, right? I was still in the denial of my wanting a job. But that, I did move forward and through that. And how I did that was when I finally realized that I was so ready to no longer be in the United States, when I knew that my mental health was on the line, that I hired a coach and I told her what my dream was. And she's like, oh, well, that's a wonderful dream. And you'll, probably do really well there, since this is really something you're passionate about. How much would it take for you to make this move to France for a year, say? And I looked at her. This was on a video meeting. And I said, I don't know. And I felt stupid in saying that, because here I am thinking about moving abroad for the last 2.5 or 3 years. And I hadn't done the research to find out what France would require me to have in savings to make this move and stay there long term. And she said, oh, well, that's easy. That is your homework assignment. Now, when I went through coach training, this was something that was considered, right? It was an external block, is what we call it. And that meant that, it's something that if you don't have enough money, or you don't have enough time, that it's something that the fix is fairly simple. Yes, maybe I might have to get a second job, or it might take me longer to make the move abroad because I need time to save, but it's not an insurmountable obstacle. And in some ways, it's just a very practical one that you just put a plan in place and you work it, versus limiting belief or an internal block that is really anchored in our way of thinking or believing, something that like a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, which was really anchored. It was something that I grew up hearing and believing, and it was just the truth for me in that moment. So anyway, I said to her, okay, I'm going to find out. And what I did when I came back the next week and told her that, oh yeah, I have quite a bit of money in savings and it would last me at least a couple of years in France. I think that this is something that's possible, but there is another block, right? But this is my emergency fund, and moving to France really is an emergency. There are blocks and things that have held me back from making this move sooner that are nestled inside one another. It's like one of those Russian dolls where you keep unstacking and opening, and there's a smaller and a smaller and a smaller doll inside. That's what this video is starting to feel like. But at any rate, I had enough, right? I could do this thing. And that made me feel like, oh yeah, I could do this thing. But I still needed to get unstuck just a little bit more. And I was speaking with a coach who I went to coach training with. And I told her my situation. And she helped me to see this dilemma in a different light. And she asked me a question that just kind of floored me. She said, well, yeah, I hear what you're saying about not wanting to use your emergency fund to move to France. But what if moving to France is the emergency? What if you're staying in the United States is going to be so detrimental to your happiness that it impacts your health and well-being? And when she said that, I was like, I had gotten permission. That was like permission for me to use this emergency fund to live this dream that I'd been wanting to do for a long time. So that was another thing. But those two blocks fell pretty quickly in rapid succession, and that helped. So I think that the money block for a lot of people is a big thing that holds them back, whether it be I need to find a job that I can do remote anywhere, or whether it be, I need to have enough in savings. And I think the question you need to ask yourself is, how much do I need? And how long will I be able to sustain myself on this money until I get a business up and running in this new country, until I'm able to find a job that might sponsor me in this new country, until I might be able to find another way to support myself in this new country. Because I think sometimes we need to taste the thing that we're going for in order to be motivated to find a solution that is longer term. I think sometimes the thinking about the thing we want is nice and it's a dream and it's something we don't believe is possible. But when we're experiencing it and it feels good, you better believe that you're going to be a little bit more motivated, maybe a little bit more creative in finding a solution that will allow you to stay longer term. All right, so that's the third one. It was money block. Didn't want to look at what I had in savings, number one, but number two, I didn't really want to use my emergency fund because, well, I didn't see moving to France as an emergency. So shifting your thought about, your emergency fund, if that's something that holds you up, or hiring somebody to help you get unstuck around the area of money is not a bad idea either. All right. So of those three so far, which one of those can you relate to most? The limiting of a belief that only young people move abroad, that I need a job already before I make a move to a foreign country, or I can't see myself using this money I've piled away in case there's a rainy day. Let me know in the comments. All right, so number 4 is something that I, as a trained project manager, got stuck in. And that was needing to have everything all figured out. And this kind of goes in line with needing to have that job lined up before I made a move abroad. Because as a project manager, you create a project plan, and the project management type of project management I did was something where you had the project plan all figured out from beginning to end, even if it was a huge project, and things never went the way the plan said it should. But in my mind, I was still in that mindset that, oh yeah, I need to have this job first, and then, and then, and then, and then. And that kind of slowed me down a little bit. But again, working with that coach helped me to get unstuck, move forward, move through that initial block that caused me to mark time and not really make much progress. And I think there's the beauty in not having it all figured out, because as I am experiencing this life in France, coming up on 6 years this month, I see how the universe or something higher had a plan that I couldn't even see the next steps in. So stepping out on faith and having a plan in addition to that faith is something that might move you forward and down paths that you never imagined. I didn't imagine that I would start a business here in France. And here I am 6 years later doing exactly that. So it's powerful when you have a motivation, you have a goal, you get help in moving through the blocks that you have, and then you move forward with a plan that's not completely baked. It's surprising. Let me know if you've ever experienced something like that, if you've ever kind of taken a chance without really seeing how it was all going to play out. And let me know how that turned out for you. All right. Now, finally, I think the last thing that had me stuck was that my life in the United States financially was pretty good. I was living in a nice house. I had a job that paid me well. I was settled, and I was in a stable situation. So this ties into the idea that only young people move abroad, because while I had a house and my situation seemed to be stable, I was very unhappy, but I settled. I allowed myself to settle. And I think one of the things that came up for me, or was a block in that, was I didn't necessarily believe that I was worthy of making this move abroad. It's something that I don't feel often. I feel like I am worthy of having the things that I have in life. But I think that there was a kernel of lack of deservability, as I call it, for making this move abroad. Who am I to move abroad? And you know what? You've already got a good thing going, so you don't want to mess that up. Again, going back to kind of a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush mentality. But what moved me out of that was the climate in the United States started to feel really uncomfortable for me as a Black woman. And this is not something that I really even knew until I was actually living in France. And I can feel how much lighter I felt being in France. So definitely it was something that I needed. Definitely it's something that helped me mentally. But there was something inside of me that was saying, yeah, maybe, this is as good as it gets. Maybe the United States and what I have now is as good as it gets, or as much as I deserve. And so didn't move forward with that. So that's another block. And that, that's an internal block. That's something that's harder to work through. Again, working with the coach, and work with the coach maybe 4 or 6 sessions max. And I was on my way because I was ready. I'd had coach training as well, and that helped me to develop and grow to the place that I just needed a little nudge in the direction to kind of see some of my blind spots. But I'm telling you, this is one of the best things I've ever done. As scary as it is, I am so glad I took the chance on myself. Now, those are, I'm going to give you a bonus. I'm going to give you a bonus reason. And that is that many of the things that I shared with you are all cousins of fear, right? I was afraid. There was a fear. I was afraid I would run out of money. There was a fear that maybe I didn't have what it took to make this life in France my reality long term. There was this fear of not having it all figured out, and that in order for something to turn out well, that was the path to success. So all of these things really were ways that were disguises of fear that I had. And I think that as we start this new year, it's so important to know that the things that you want to experience in life, whether it be moving abroad or starting a new job or a business or finding the right mate, whatever that is that you deserve to have what you want to experience. And if it takes finding help in order to move through any of the blocks that you have to doing that, I think you are well worth the investment. So as I said earlier, I help single women who are ready to start the next chapter of their life, but have stalled for some reason. And they're so sick and tired of thinking about it and talking to friends about it and researching about it. And they just want to get there. I help them move through whatever's holding them back. Maybe it's something on this list that's holding you back. And I do that with my program called the Carefree Expat Incubator that takes you through a curriculum that really helps you to get unblocked, helps you to become the kind of person who does this strange and different and scary thing that you are about to undertake, and helps you to create a plan so that you feel confident when you make your leap abroad. There's also group coaching and mentoring calls weekly. So that means that you get on a call and if you have questions or you need to be coached through something, you submit a question and I coach you through that. Other women on the call have questions so you can hear what they're going through, concerns they have, and that will help you as you plan and prepare your move abroad as well. So it's a beautiful program. The other women in the program are so supportive. It's just an incredible community. So that sounds like something that would help you get unstuck, move you through the struggle of making this move abroad happen. Then let's have a conversation. You can go to thecouragecatalyst.com/future expat or click the link in the description and schedule a time for us to talk. And I'll share more details about the program. I'll learn more about you and your goals and what's holding you back. And we'll see if our working together is something that makes sense. All right. So be sure to do that. thecouragecatalyst.com/future expat. And I look forward to our conversation. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe, like, share with friends, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.